ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Good to be with you as we talk Bears ball on episode 157 of the Bears Etc. podcast. We are brought to you by Miller Lite with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak, and with every passing day, the picture gets clearer. The intensity grows and the competition thrives and the coach's demeanor cranks up a smidge. It's game week for starters, with the Miami Dolphins arriving for one-day joint practice on Friday before the Sunday afternoon kickoff at Soldier Field at noon against the Dolphins. Well, we enjoyed the practice at Soldier Field on Sunday. Family Fest was a hit, Tommy. Big crowd, 23,000 plus. They were engaged. They were entertained. It was a beautiful day. Nice breeze off the lake. Some intense competition, as we'll get into. What was pretty much a scrimmage with contact. Practice 10 was a 10 in my book. How about you?
Enjoyed the practice. I like the work ethic and the workload that Ben Johnson and all the coaches challenged every one of these guys with, whether it's a whole position segment or, just the whole development of this offense. I think it's encouraging, and I think you can get some great coaching going forward from it. And then I see guys like Grady Jarrett, TJ Edwards, a couple guys, man, that just impressed me practice in and practice out. I think a guy like Grady Jarrett, I think that you're going to have to reintroduce the Badouche because it's coming back, and it's coming back because of Grady Jarrett. And I think when you have a couple of guys like that are super important in their role, whether they brought in here as a free agent like Grady or a guy that's been around here now for a couple of years like TJ Edwards, they can do a lot for this defense, and they can give a lot of confidence to Dennis Allen, but then they can make the guys next to him better. I see Dexter Sr. making plays because of Grady Jarrett. I see Dexter Sr. getting a one-on-one because they got Grady concerns, and all of a sudden he's able to engage, disengage, escape, and make a play in a backfield. So the different elements of improvement, because some of the guys that are here, it's fun to see. And then I see a guy like Austin Booker, Jeff.
Plays fiery.
Developing. He's fiery, and he's developing, and he's kind of got that snap of confidence both from the head coach, his position coach, and the defensive coordinator. And then you're kind of feeding off some of the other guys that you have in there that are creating excitement and competition. So just to mention a couple of guys that caught my eye in that scrimmage that I'm excited to see what they're doing and where they're going in the near future against competition coming in.
All right, Ben Johnson did meet the media after that practice. He was stern and serious, about what went on. He's not shying away about what he sees. A lot of information pouring into the mental buckets of all these players, as he alluded to, and just what he thought about the practice at Soldier Field.
We got some good work in. It was sloppier than probably hoping we would be at this point. Particularly, we had a couple really good practices over the last two, and then took us a little while to get going and hear the pads clicking. But I thought towards the end we picked it up, and it got pretty competitive there. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up.
How do you account for continued delay game with penalties and things of that nature where it just looks like it's not in sync?
Yeah, it's something we're going to have to address for sure. It showed up more today than it has in practice. So this was more like a real game, and if it continues like that, we're not going to win many games.
How do you evaluate if it's, still like install learning things, or if it's things that should be understood and shouldn't be issues like that?
It comes down to, I think I've mentioned a couple times that whether we're making the same mistake twice or not. And I felt like I saw that a couple times today. So I know the saturation level has gotten there with these guys. They're pretty filled up to the brim with information. But at the same time, the installs are slowing down. So we do expect the execution to be a little bit cleaner as we go from here on out.
Thoughts on Ben? I know you have some thoughts on Ben and how he sounded after practice and how he looked during practice.
Okay, so that's kind of a new Ben to us, because we usually see Ben after practice go and watch tape, and then he does his press conference the next day. Now, this is the first time he goes right to the podium within the seconds of the conclusion of that practice, and some of that aggravation, man, is fresh in his brain, and it's rolling around up there, and he's got 1,000 things that he needs to address, and that's all before he sees the tape. And so I like everything that we get to learn about Ben in this process of training camp. And, his immediate reaction, he understands things that he's going to be looking for on tape. And now you talk about he's going to go to his office and he's going to look at 95 plays. And every single one of those plays may ignite an idea, a thought of what he needs to get better, what he needs to correct, what he needs to use again, or what could possibly be changed. He understands the competitiveness of each position and see how guys are fitting into his thought and his plan for this offense. So I'm glad we got to hear the post-practice Ben, and, a little different than the morning Ben.
Yeah, whether it be pre-snap or post-snap or whatever the case may be, mental errors, the ball not bouncing the way you want. The fact is it's all good tape. You use it, but his big thing is, let's not make that same mistake twice, and that'll be the difference for players. If you can't conquer that, you're gonna have a hard time getting on the football field. In that setting, you got a better idea also of how the running game's working. And he was very complimentary of a guy like Kyle Monangai, for example. Here's Ben Johnson.
He crammed it up in there. He was physical. I thought all the runners, him, I thought Roshan, I thought Swifty, I thought Ian, I thought all those guys, they were putting their shoulders down and they were running through contact. And if they saw a little crease, that's where I had a little bit better view than the other coaches, just seeing holes, whether they were there or not. And I thought those guys were trying to play a physical brand of football all around.
Is he one of those guys that obviously maybe his numbers at the combine didn't pop, but with the pads on, he's a different player?
Yes, I think so. I'm very pleased with where he's at, and I think he's a guy that we're going to be able to trust this fall.
Kyle is a guy we can count on in the fall. That's great news for a 7th-round rookie, that's for sure. He believes in him, and it's all the running backs. They had a role yesterday that saw each of them do something very well.
All right, here's a guy that we can count on in the fall, and it's still only summertime. So when you get a compliment like that as a rookie that's just brought aboard in a new system, that's high praise. And I think it's a significant statement of what they think about Kyle Monangai, because this is not going to be a one responsibility backfield. This is going to be a backfield that you better have responsibilities of everything that's going to be asked of you. And I do think that's what they realize that out of Monangai. Whether they're watching an individual drill at practice of running backs against linebackers, they're asking Kyle Monangai to pick up a blitzing linebacker on a pass blocking responsibility, or they give him a call on the inside of a running play that you have to put your vision and your willingness to lower your shoulder pads on display. And Kyle has not disappointed them since then.
And they're not quite done with all the install. I think last week they said they were at 9. There's 12 parts to it. They hope to get it all in before the Dolphins arrive on Friday. So there's still a lot. I'm sure their heads are swimming, Tommy. How do you as a player work through that flood?
You just study. You go through your meetings. You kind of take into account of everything they're trying to install for that day. Make sure when you go out in the field, you know exactly your assignments on every single one of those plays, so you can go out, and if they call them and the defense makes an adjustment, you know exactly what you're going to do. But yeah, this is all going to be installed, and then we're going to go back to the beginning. And then when you start thinking in a couple weeks of the Minnesota Vikings coming in town, you're going to go back and look at the defenses that they've been playing over the last couple of years, and now you're going to start installing the information that pertains specifically to that game. And then they'll do it again for the Detroit game week 2. So you're just trying to install and put as much on the plate of these players as you possibly can when you have the luxury of time, because you do get the chance to run it, rerun it, repeat it, and do it again.
And the funny thing about installs, I learned this from covering a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it was when the Packers knocked the Bears off in the 2010 NFC Championship game, but going to the defensive coordinator, Don Capers, on a zone drop from B.J. Raji that intercepted Caleb Haney. He said, we installed that in training camp, never used the play once until then. And they pulled it out just for that down and distance, backed up in your own end at Soldier Field, and he pulled that out of the hat. And it isn't that something, though, that over the course of summer to the NFC Championship game, you have this one card in your deck, and you pull it out, and it turns out to be a significant play.
Okay, you take everything into account. You look at the defense, you look at the offense. The offense is going to go through a 3-step drop, get the ball out of my hands. I know that pass rusher is not going to be able to get to the quarterback and have any effect on him. But if he clogs a throwing lane, I know that he can drop off and clog a throwing lane. So what happens? They call the play, he clogs the throwing lane, catches the ball, and the rest is history. So you have to, when you're thinking about that play, okay, we've installed it, this is the perfect time we can use it. I know he's not going to get pressure on a 3-step drop, but I know he can clog a throwing lane in the red zone.
This is why I have tons of respect for coaches who keep this in their Rolodex, in their mental, and all the support staff. It's crazy. This podcast is brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller time, Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Cole Kmet was also at the podium on Sunday as well. Yeah, the benefactor of a really well-designed play. Things that we anticipate seeing more of from Ben Johnson, who treated it like a preseason game in many respects. A lot of fun for Ben and a lot of fun for Cole Kmet, the variations that he expects, even if something like this. The play was a Caleb Williams throw to Cole Kmet, a blitz beater, Tommy, for a 25-yard touchdown. Here's Cole.
One of the many designs and plays that Ben has up his sleeve that I think are going to be a lot of fun to run variations of this year.
Like that, just starting to see that, the plays up his sleeve. I mean, I know we talked so much about that at the beginning, but is it starting to come out?
Yeah, I think you can see it. I mean, you can see it when he's presenting and installing these plays, and, maybe not all of them we get a ton of reps up, and you guys don't maybe see all of them this time of year, but you can see the design and, the detail of them and what he wants to get done with each of these plays, and really cool to see. And I know everyone's excited to go out there and execute these plays.
And I think you turned to me at that. We were watching that play, and you got a big smile on your face.
We love that play. We love that play, whether it's run by a back, a fullback, a tight end, whoever is the recipient of a wheel route like that. It's fun to see. But, we just talked about, Dom Capers and having a play in his memory Rolodex. That may be a play that is in the Rolodex, in the memory Rolodex of Ben Johnson until the perfect time, man. Mm-hmm. Until when you need it the most, you need a big play, and you want to put it into the hands of one of your playmakers. And I do think that Cole Kmet is one of the playmakers of this offense.
Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. Yeah, he was asked about who right now that he feels he can trust. And, DJ Moore, being in the right place at the right time and making a play. Cole Kmet, Roma Dunze, and also Olamide Zaccheaus, who's really looked good too. That is a excellent veteran addition to this roster. He's had 3 straight years of at least 500 yards receiving wherever he's been. Last year in Washington with a rookie quarterback in Daniels. Now with a second-year quarterback, a young quarterback in Caleb Williams. What you've seen out of a guy like Zaccheaus, has that caught your attention as well? Because this is a tough player who loves the block too. The no block, no rock thing is relevant there.
But I will tell you, I'm inspired by a punt catching ability as well, because this is something here that you need a reliable receiver like Zaccheaus, but you also need a guy that is sure-handed on punt returns. And maybe he can be that guy from week 1. And then when you grow through the season and you have some of the outdoor conditions that bring some inclement weather, you need a guy that's as sure-handed as a quality receiver. So I look at some of these guys that are going to be 4-phase guys, as well as their part on offense and defense, and he's one of them.
Tom, there was a play by Tyson Bagent I got to emphasize, because he threw in a very tight window to J.P. Richardson over the middle.
Yep.
Well defended. He shook free, and, if he was tackled, if he's not tackled, let's just say he wasn't. That's a 50-yard touchdown catch and run. We talk about catch and run plays. This kid is making play after play after play, and he's definitely on the coach's radar. You use the word significant in terms of how he's played. It's going to still be hard to make this roster at the receiver position, given the talent the Bears have. But that throw with purpose, with intention, with velocity, a tight spin, and JP battling a defender for what, it was a perfect window. If he doesn't catch it, he at least gets his hands on it. It could be intercepted, but he caught the ball and ran with it. What did you think of that play?
I think that's how all receivers are judged is, do they have escapability? And when they don't have great escapability, can they catch in traffic? Do they have the willingness to catch when a player is approaching them? And I think that's what JP Richardson has shown throughout camp. But I also admire the willingness of Tyson to pick him out, aim him out, and make the right throw to give him an opportunity to make that type of catch. So I think you have a variety of things that were really instrumental in the success of that play between the quarterback and receiver.
Are aches, pains, or injuries keeping you on the sidelines? Athletico's movement experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks and create a personalized game plan for your recovery. With no prescription or referral needed, Athletico Physical Therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico is proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. Let's turn to defense because the defense was very good. There's no other way to put it. Dennis Allen has these guys flying around. You mentioned Austin Booker. I counted up at least a dozen guys that caught my attention making a play. Kyler Gordon, a sack. Nashawn Wright, the corner, broke up a pass. Tano Passanao, he got his hands up on a screen. Tyreek Stevenson flat out went like Superman, taps away a pass near the goal line to Zacchaeus. The rookie corner from Oregon, undrafted, impressing me. Tysheem Johnson, he's making plays. He intercepted a deflected pass. Sweat was good. And then when I get to TJ Edwards breaking up a pass to Colston Loveland, that's a hard assignment for any linebacker with a guy of that size and athletic ability and the ability to run a route. So much to talk about here. You mentioned Javon Dexter, and of course he was the one that got the safety on DeAndre Swift when they were starting from the 1 on a long field. First snap, handoff, safety. What do you think about what this defense is looking like? And did I miss anybody?
Yeah. The one thing about it is Dennis Allen is really an interesting architect of defensive skills. And he puts everybody in a position where there's a lot of thinking amongst the offensive blockers to know when who their responsibility is. I like the fact that there's no hesitation in the game of Jaquan Brisker. And we had concerned, and we talked about that. He does not have any lack of willingness to do whatever his assignment is on a specific play. DeAndre Swift breaks up and through the second level, and there Jaquan Brisker wraps him up, great form tackle, and brings him to the ground. And so I'm super encouraged when I see that. But the variety of the personnel that you mentioned and the developing skills of some of these young guys and then the creativeness of Dennis Allen, I'm excited to see how this defense is going to change week to week and how he's going to be able to, as you use your word, deploy a lot of these guys from different levels, whether it's Jaquan or whether it's Kyler, whether it's a corner blitz, whether it's the positioning of a defensive end to confuse the offensive tackle, if he's still responsible for him or is he responsible for an interior rusher. So I like to see what I'm seeing out of this defense.
I hate to keep bringing it up, but I have since the last couple of years, just the secondary overall. How important is it that group be what it already is and grow with this new coordinator? You got a lot of confidence back there for the rest of the defense. I mean, I know the game is in the trenches, but what this division is all about, what the Bears are going to be facing this season from great quarterbacks on the road or at Soldier Field, and the amount of weaponry that they're going to have to deal with. How important is this group, even without Jalen Johnson out there yet? He was on the sidelines, our first sight of him, and he should be ready for week 1 by all accounts. But what these guys are doing and what we're learning about some of these veterans like Nashawn Johnson, Nick McLeod, some other guys, young guys that could have a shot at this roster.
When you look at the receivers within the division, receivers around the league, especially, you're going to play Cincinnati and you're going to play a quarterback out in Baltimore and stuff. The cornerback position is probably the most important singular position on a defense in order to do the things creatively that you want to do. But the intelligence of Jaquan, Kevin Byard, and Kyler Gordon give you an option to not only stress the width of the field in the passing game, or they can possibly come and present immediate pressure on the quarterback. And that's the cool thing about this defense is it's probably the longest cornerbacks I've ever seen in Bears uniforms since I've been here, either as a player and a broadcaster. And if some of these guys can play into their traits, their look, it's going to be an incredible corner defense. But you got to make sure that you have that interior of the defense that can take up the width of the field, support the outside of the field, and make tackles when they have that one-on-one responsibility.
Now, which brings me to the linebacker level. TJ Edwards at the podium on Sunday as well asked if he's closer to knowing where he will play, middle linebacker or weak side linebacker.
I really don't know yet. I think we're kind of, both Tremaine and I are still kind of doing both. Honestly, it really helps us learn the defense and kind of just understand big picture-wise what we're doing. I think we're both comfortable in either role, but and as you know, as we start getting closer here, those things will start to get determined and decided in that way.
Your head coach just basically said that the offense, for a lot of them, said that the offense was sloppy. You guys take some gratification in that?
I think in general, right, the team, we operate to a certain standard. And so I think for the most part, right, they have their times, but there's also things that, we're getting lined up late. There's always things that we can be better with. And, I think as a defense, right, you want to kind of cause as much chaos as you can while being simple in what you're doing. Again, we have so many battles already in practice where we got a good feel for what they do a little bit, but, Ben, he's always throwing some different things in there to kind of mix it up as well. And, and DA is going to continue to install, and we're going to continue to kind of do a bunch of different things to see what works. And I think for the most part, we're doing a decent job of handling it.
So, as he said, he and Tremaine Edmonds have been very visible, making plays. Edmonds almost had an interception Sunday as well. Does it matter to you who plays where? And could it be possible that based on who you're playing, one guy might play middle linebacker one week and one might play weak side linebacker the next, or within the framework of a game?
These guys are interchangeable. They can do anything that's asked of them. They've already proved it they can. And whether you're going to move Tremaine around or TJ, I think these guys are super capable NFL linebackers that they can play anywhere Dennis Allen has them line up. They're intelligent players. They got a world of experience. They know the offenses they're facing at an NFL level. So, you could just you could line up these guys wherever they want to line up, and they could play exactly what's demanded of them.
Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears and now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget, and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. And how do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling him you're a Bears fan? Well, with the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard. Tom, any jottings on your Tom's thoughts that we have not covered so far today on this here podcast? What do you got for us?
I think the receiver position is interesting because I'm really excited to see now there's been about 3 practices that Luther Burden has shown why he was drafted, where he was drafted, what he can do to complement the receiver position and the offense as a whole. And I think the more comfortable Luther Burden becomes in this offense, I think it opens the door of just opportunities for Colson Loveland, Cole Kmet, and all the other guys on this football team that have the DJ Moore and Roman Dunze, obviously. But to me, it's Luther Burden has really stepped up to where we all hoped he would over, this period of time.
Excited to see the Dolphins?
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait because it's going to be nice. Players always say, I got to hit somebody else. I don't want to get in a stance against, if I'm Jonah Jackson or if I'm Joe Tooney, I don't want to get in a stance anymore right now against Grady Jarrett. Well, here, your wish is coming. And it's not only for the experienced veterans, it's also for the young guys, because this can be not only confusing because they're not seeing the defense that they practice against over the last 3 or 4 months, but the person that's in a stance across from them looks differently. The defensive back that's in a different coverage position against the wide receivers they don't look the same. And so whatever position you play, something's going to look different. Just make sure that you understand your assignments, that you get into your playbook, and then when you get a chance to get a snap, play like heck.
And you're going to face Tua Tagovailoa defensively, gets rid of the ball quickly, and then Josh Allen, the reigning MVP in the league. Man, that is great tape to watch. Because you're not going to face him in the games, I'm certain, right?
Right.
That's going to be awesome.
Again, the modern day NFL, the way they go about these joint practices and the way they run them, you get the really important reps in a practice for the ones, and then you get the equally important reps for the guys that are fighting for a spot on this roster, and it means just as much to them.
All right, that's going to wrap us up. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll be back with you later this week. And for Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.